लिन्नतनयातिरे च वंशी बटे प्रेमन माधव साधसे सदसया ग्रस्तौ प्रमत्तौ सदा राधा पुण्यतटे कलिन् Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna, glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Welcome to the Sunday morning here in Canada, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam reading and discussion with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, who was on an extensive trip this week, and as a result is recovering from his trip. I hope to see him on the screen in due course. And I wanted to discuss briefly about opinion as opposed to fact, because opinion is something that the living entity has due to independent free will. This is all a result of the false ego conception that I am the enjoyer of everything in this world. This is the illusion of material life. And opinion is part of it, not fact. And we've seen the case in the ISKCON movement, not only in the ISKCON movement, but in society in general. Everybody has an opinion. Like here in North America, in Canada and the United States, especially in the political arena, there's so many different opinions of what is fact. Of course, that's based on nationalism. There's so many different belief systems. There's so many different practices in life. You know, altruism, philanthropism, communism, capitalism, all kinds of different isms. So people have different opinions on which ism is right or which ism is wrong. These are all mundane opinions of life, how to operate in life. That's much different than transcendental knowledge that's received from the pure devotee. So Prabhupada would explain that we do not have opinion. No, we don't. Our perspective on life is based on fact. And where does fact come from, Bhaktijad? It appears from the Shastra, from Scripture, that through the study of the Scripture, we develop our perspective on life. Yes. And this is something that in the spiritual circles can become very confusing, because a lot of people, so-called leaders in a group, they develop an opinion based on their personal motive And through that personal motive, they direct the understanding of philosophy in a particular way according to their motive. Yes. So motive is behind opinion. But the motive of a devotee, a real devotee of the spiritual master, is not to misinterpret the philosophy for personal motive, but simply to repeat what they hear from the bona fide source. And this goes on even in Christianity, because in the Christian religion, yes, there are so many opinions. Oh, and therefore you see so many different groups. For example, Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventist, different Protestant groups, the Catholic group. Do they all agree? Vijaya Pandit, do they agree? No. They'll look at this, they'll say, oh, their interpretation of the Bible is not correct. And unfortunately, this type of confusion goes on. So in every church here in Ontario, in Canada, there's so many different Christian churches. Oh yeah. And every one of them is proclaiming that they've got the correct understanding of what Jesus was saying. They keep Jesus as the focal point, but the local priest, he has his own interpretation of what Jesus is saying. That's his opinion. This is called misinformation. And misinformation goes on not only in religious groups, but also in political groups and all kinds of organizations where opinion seems to rule over fact. So the fact of the matter is that this has taken place in the ISKCON movement. Yes, it is. So Radhanath, for example, one of my godbrothers, or our godbrothers, has an opinion. He has an opinion on we should open a hospital. We should have a food program. We should do this and that in order to advance our cause. Wrong. Just read a recent purport in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter. I think it's text 28, purport. You could read that, Prabhus. It's very informative, extremely enlightening on these matters. And it is this misinformation campaign that's misleading people in the ISKCON group. And this is a tragedy, because there is such a thing as fact over fantasy. What is fantasy? Oh, that I am here in this material world for many years. I'm going to become important. I'm going to rise up and become a famous person. That's a fantasy. The fact is, we're eternal servants of Krishna. The eternal servant of the servant of the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, irregardless of nationalism. We're not Italian, we're not Canadian, we're not Indian, we're not Chinese. We are the eternal servants of the Supreme Lord, and our position is to understand the mystery of life through association with a bona fide source, and that is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. He is the bona fide source. And our group is here to present that to other people so there is no misunderstanding of these facts. And we don't dwindle down into an organization that's based on individual opinion. I was reading about, in a post recently in the online world, and it was talking about Bhaktisiddhanta's perspective on Jugala Priti, the rasa dance. He never wanted the picture ever shown. Now, yet, someone has gone ahead and written a book, one of our godbrothers, 9 volumes, in fact, on pastimes in Vrindavan, Jugala Priti. This is an a clear vision for us of how deviant some people can become. Opinion, misrepresentation, false ego, all these diseases exist. And unfortunately, this cancer has entered into the Prabhupada mission of Lord Chaitanya. And some people are saying, oh, you have to believe us. We're the ones that are telling the truth. No. And some of us, by the grace of the Lord and our spiritual master, have been able to see how diluted these things are. So we'll move forward now. I wanted to remind everyone, please write your Vyas Puja offering. It's upcoming, and Vinkat Bhatta Prabhu is going to put a link up on the Hare Krishna Society website page, which is a wonderful website for information, largely stocked by our godbrother Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. And you can make that offering. We're going to be doing a release of that Vyas Puja book. We had 80 offerings last year, so they're on that website. And we're looking for your written expression of commitment to the Sankirtan mission of Śrīla Prabhupada and to him in this Vyas Puja offering, the representative of Śrīla Vyāsadeva A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. So please mark that in your calendar, Bhaktijad. If you've already, did you send one in yet already, Prabhu? Okay, so make it as things to do this week. And eventually at the end of the week, it'll be done. And by the way, everyone, it doesn't have to be long. It just has to be written from your heart, how you feel. Even if it's a sentence, that's enough. But if you want to write some more, there is no restriction on length. Go ahead, express yourself. And this will show the collective focus of our group towards the mission of protecting Prabhupada's legacy. This is what we're looking for, is devotional service to the spiritual master without motivation. Because that will liberate the individual from the clutches of illusion. That's what we're in. We live in illusion every day of our life, some of us. And the process of devotional service, which is, even I was listening to a Christian speaker the other day, a Catholic, and he was saying, you must read the Bible. So the same principle applies in Krishna consciousness. You must read the books. You have to. The bona fide versions. And this will give you strength of character, of understanding on how to deal with the problems of life as they unfold every day. Just like a forest fire comes without expectation to burn your house down, or your, like in the case of Saranagati in BC here in Canada, it's being burnt down. Nobody expected it, but it showed up, and the tragedy is there. So Prabhupada explains, no one wants problems, no one wants tragedy, but tragedy comes without any warning. You could all of a sudden be diagnosed with cancer. Hey, Bhaktijad, you think, oh, not me. But at any moment, catastrophe can come. And when it does, you take shelter of Krishna. So it's better to prepare before the announcement comes. And this is proper understanding of Krishna consciousness, to always hear from the spiritual master, to take shelter of this transcendental process and become inspired. Become inspired genuinely from within you. And with us, inspired group, we'll be able to come together in due course of time and really launch a campaign to protect Prabhupada's legacy and the misguided misrepresentation of his philosophy by so many people that are personally motivated to build their own little empire in these castles made of sand. They pass on slowly by and by into the sea endlessly. These castles made of sand. That's Jimi Hendrix, by the way. That was his song. It's true. Here we are. We're going to go to the diaries. Now look at that. Now, by the way, I was looking at this Bhakti Jad, and I'm looking at the insert, and I start to read it, and it's different than the translation. They've abbreviated this. They actually have. So when you go up to the top, Rupesh, go up to the top. You can't really see it from where you are, but I started to read it in Prabhupada's handwriting, and then I read across, and it's not the same. So what's happened is the BBT have edited this diary. What else is new? They just cannot control, they couldn't control themselves, everything they do. And I'd like to do this. I'd like to request that some of us in the future could work together to find the archives for this diary, and we'll present it from the Prabhupada Disciples Association and online for everyone to read the actual diary, not the edited version of these so-called people that are misrepresenting, misinforming us on Prabhupada's message. Look at the writing. Look at how extensive it is, Prabhus. Go slide down, Rupesh. Slide down. Here, keep going down, just to show everybody how much is written. Look at how much is written, Prabhus, and then go to the right, and it's been capsulized. I'd say it's half of the information on the right side that we're going to read. We'll do it for what we can. Look at it. There it is. It's blatant. Further editing of everything without any concern for the people that are trying to learn about the pastimes of Śrīla Prabhupāda. Tuesday, the 17th of August. Today, the morning sky is scattered with cloud. The ship is going toward the western side. I feel a little bit well after passing. The ship is running against wind current. The sea is a little rougher. And on 10:30, we saw the south coast of Ceylon with a white lighthouse. Two ships passed from the opposite side. Some daring fishermen were fishing in small boats. From the distance, they appeared to be almost drowning in the water, but next moment, they would appear to be safely working. There is sunshine, but the sky is not clear. The captain informed me that by next 6 hours, we shall reach Colombo port. The hilly southern Ceylon coast is said to be 4 to 5 miles away from our ship. This means the fishermen were fishing in small boats 5 to 10 miles away from their native coast. Certainly a very daring job. At about 2 p.m., we have now turned towards northern front. The sky is cloudy, but we are forwarding us steadily. Today I'm better than other 3 days. At 3 p.m., the Colombo city became faintly visible from the ship. The color of the water in the Indian Ocean is different from that of the Bay of Bengal. I might have read this, but we'll read it again. The ship reached exactly at 4:30 in the port, but the management of Colombo port could not receive the ship for want of berth, and therefore it is anchored in the shore waiting to enter the post. At about 9 p.m., the ship was escorted by the pilot, and we entered the dockyard, very old pattern, but there were many ships from various countries, including passengers and cargo ships. At night, the dockyard ships assumed a brilliance spectacle on account of profuse light. We rested the whole night, the ships being anchored. Next morning, barges loaded with goods arrived near the ship. And on the 18th of August, 1965, it felt quite normal and the seasickness completely removed. The ship remained silent the whole day on account of lazy ship, and only a few loads of goods were admitted. As you know, seasickness is very disturbing. You know, I've had it myself, and it's not a small thing. It's a very serious experience, and Prabhupada was going through it. I wanted to see the Colombo city, but I could not make any arrangement. The ship was standing at the midstream, and I did not like to go alone. The next morning, I informed my situation to Captain Pandya, and he was very kind to us to take me to the shore in a motor launch. We dropped at Elizabeth Gate, talked with the Ceylonese clerks, and then in a taxi we went to the office of Narottam and Pierre Company. The manager, Mr. Banka, was a Gujarati gentleman, and he received us as well. He arranged for me a good car to go around the city. The office quarter was quite busy, and many foreign offices and renowned banks were there. I saw the Governor General's house, the Parliament House, the Town Hall, one very nice seaside hotel, and passed through very nice roads and bazaars. The city appeared to be nice and clean, and the small bungalows nicely decorated. It appears that people, although not very good looking, they are not uncultured, neither they are tasteless. The city is quite up to resembling an Indian city like Madras and Pune. The buses and taxis are clean to see. The bus stands almost crowdy. Like that of the Indian cities, the offices conducted most in Indian style. The culture and civilization is Indian percent, but artificially Indian, and Ceylon is divided. We're starting for Cochin at 6 p.m. The ship situated at 7 p.m. The pilot being late in reaching the ship, I ran for the whole night and next day up to, it ran for the whole night and next day up to 3:30 p.m. and reached the coast of Cochin. The ship is standing on the coast of Cochin without entering the dock. Friday, the 20th of August, 1965. Today, the captain arranged for a meeting on board the MV Jaladuta on account of Janmashtami Day. And I spoke for an hour on the philosophy and teachings of Lord Krishna. All the officers attended the meeting, and there was distribution of prasadam. So he's like a lighthouse of direction for everyone, even in those times. The senior-most devotee of the Lord conducting programs on the ship for the benefit of all the membership there. The matter was radiographed to Sumati Mukherjee in Bombay. The ship is stranded. The matter was radiographed. So she's also in tune with Prabhupada's journey. The ship is stranded on the Arabian Sea about 4 miles away from the coast. We are in this position from 3:20 p.m., 2865 to 9:30 a.m. on 22/865. So 2 days they're stranded on the Arabian Sea. Very taxing journey. Sunday, the 22nd of August, 1965, at about 10 a.m., we are now in the dockyard of Cochin. The dock is peculiar because it is by nature full of small islands. Some of the islands are full with nice huttaments, formerly known as British Island. I saw my books from Bombay arrived in 5 cases, and the agents loaded them on the ship at 4 p.m. on 22/8/65. So those are the Bhagavatams, the Delhi Bhagavatams, travel, and Prabhupada's noticed that they've arrived and loaded in as his luggage on the ship. Very wonderful thing that she did was provide not only passage, but for himself personally, but she provided the shipping arrangements for the books to come. That's also expensive. The agents, Jayaram and Sons, kindly sent their car for my driving in the city. Out of the group of islands, 2 big islands joined by an iron overbridge are known as Cochin and Ernakulam. The iron over the bridge was constructed by the Britishers very nicely along with railway lines. The railway lines is extended up to the port. There are many flourishing firms and foreign banks. It is Sunday. The bazaar was closed. Next page, please. Yeah, let's get there. Okay, thank you. Just back up. I saw a particular kind of plantain available in this part of the country. The island known as Cochin is not an up-to-date city. The roads are like narrow lanes. The part of the city where the foreigners are residing as well as situated, the building factories, etc., all big as well as maintained. The Mohammedan quarters are separate from the Hindu quarters as usual in other cities. The part known as Ernakulam is up to date. There is a nice park on the bank of the Gulf, and it is named Subhash Bose Park. It is good that Subhash Babu is popular in this part of the country. I saw the Kerala High Court and the public buildings. The High Court being situated in Ernakulam, it appears that the city is capital of Kerala. This part of India resembles Bengal scenario. And the city Ernakulam, also Cochin, appears to me like old Kalighat. Oh, I've been there myself. Kalighat, that's in Calcutta. Or Toliganj area of Calcutta. The culture is Indian as usual. Official Bhadra, 31 days, 1887 Saka. Today, Ananda Ekadasi. We started towards the Red Sea on the western front at about 12:30 noon. The sky was almost clear, and there was sunshine since the starting of the ship from Cochin port. We are floating now on the Arabian Sea. My seasickness again began. Headache, vomiting tendency, no hunger, dizziness, and no energy to work. It is continuing. There are sometimes showers of rain, but for a short time. There was a fellow passenger in my cabin. He is also attacked with seasickness. The whole night passed. And here we have it, 24th of August. Today at about 1:30 p.m., I inquired from wheel room that we have come only 400 miles off the Indian coast. My seasickness is still continuing. I take my meals once only, but today I could not take my full meals also, although I was fasting today. I feeling uncomfortable. And on Wednesday the 25th, beginning from today down. So that means that he's not feeling well. And when we continue on Wednesday, we're going to see the pages, this down, see the line there, Jada, Bhaktaja? See the line that's down, and the next page is coming up. It's just a line. Because here Prabhupada is suffering severe trouble with his health. So this was not a small thing. This is a total sacrifice of his life in the service of the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya by coming to the West under the orders of his spiritual master to begin the process of educating through his preaching and his books the Western world. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Amazing, amazing view of what really went back then, Bhaktijad, in Prabhupada's journey across the ocean to America. Hare Krishna. Let's go forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, and hopefully we'll see our godbrother Yaśodā-nanda on the class here this morning. Otherwise, we'll carry on the best we can. Haribol. Rupesh, please.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yaśodā-nandana Braja Jana Nandana. Yaśodā-nandana Braja Jana Nandana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavavrinda ki jai. Nāmācārya Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai. Jai Gaur Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Śrīvāsadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Sri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridharadhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim sarasvatam vyāsam tato jayam udirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. After offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayan, 2, to the Narayan Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Śrīla Vyāsadeva, the author. Yad anudhasina yukta karma granti nibandhanam chindanti kovidastasya kona kuryat katam ratim. Intelligent persons do cut off the internet of the knot of reactionary work by remembrance of the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not give attention to his message? Shru o shradadhanasya vasudeva kata ruchi shan mahat seva vipra punya tirtha nesevanat. O the twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all ranges of vice, a standard of great service is done, and a result of such great service, affinity in the messages of Vasudeva is made possible. Srinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanaha hridayanto sto yabidrani vihunoti suritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is also the Paramatma in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, does cleanse the desire for material enjoyment in the heart of a devotee who has developed the urge for hearing his, Krishna's messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. And it's noted it's from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 62 Delhi edition. Nasta prayeshu abradeshu nityam bhagavata sevaya abhagavati uttama shlokir bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in the Bhagavad class or rendering service unto the pure devotees. All that is inauspicious in the heart of the candidate becomes destroyed almost to nil, and thus loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised by transcendental songs, comes into being an irrevocable fact. Tadrajas tamo bhava kama lobhadayas chai cheta eter anavidham stititam satvate sattve prasiditi As soon as irrevocable, loving service is fixed up in one's heart, at that time the effects of the nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, etc., disappear from one's heart, and he becomes fixed in the mode of goodness, which makes him completely happy. Evam pranasa manaso bhagavat bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vigyanam mukta sangasya jayite. Thus, when one is completely fixed up in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the enlivened minded man affected by contact of devotional service of the Lord can positively know scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. Vidyate hridaya grantis chidayanti sarvasam shayaha shiyanti chasya karmani drista evat manishware. The knot of one's heart is thus pierced, and all misgivings are cut into pieces. The chain of fruitive actions are terminated along with the seeing of one's self, the dominating factor. Om Agyana Timanandasya Gyanam Gyana Salakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmaya Sri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, who has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance, with the torchlight of knowledge. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Dese Tarine. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya and delivering the Western countries which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Bhaktisiddhanta Sishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prashanaya Prashantaya Tasmaya Sri Gurave Namaha. Let me offer my obeisances unto my Guru Maharaj, who is a disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is always calm and joyful, and who bears the name Bhaktivedanta. Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandanam Purvakam Ashiram Sakarai Yuktam Kodate Hi Visheshataha. Worship of the Supreme Lord is naturally very sweet, just like milk is originally sweet. Just as milk becomes sweeter by adding a little sugar, in the same way, worship of the Supreme Lord becomes sweeter by first worshiping the bona fide Guru. Adananas Tritnam Danter Idam Yache Puna Śrīmad Rupa Padamboja Duli Swam Janma Janmani. Clasping a straw between my teeth, I repeatedly beg to attain the dust of the lotus feet of Śrīmad Rupa Goswami, birth after birth. Amso Bhagavata Shmi Aham Sadadasho Smi Sarvataha Yat Kri Pape Shato Nityam Yat Preshtat Karmani Swam. I am a part tiny part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. And I'm always in every way his eternal servant. As I am always hoping for his mercy and kindness, I offer myself to his most dear servitor, my spiritual master. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we're moving forward with the reading of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam now. Prabhu, is it text 20, Rupesh? Text 20?
21.
21. Okay, thank you. Text 21 from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Tvam atmanam vehi amogaha drik parasya pumsha paramatmana kalam ajam prajitam jagata shivaya tat mohanu bhava adyudhago abhigantayatvam tvam, yourself, atmanam, the super soul, atmana, by your own self, avehi, search out, amoga, drik, one who has perfect vision, parasya, of the transcendence, pumsa, personality of Godhead, para atmana, of the Supreme Lord, kalam, plenary part, ajam, birthless, prajitam, I've taken birth, jagata, of the world, shivaya, for the well-being, tat, mahanu bhava, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, abhyudaya, pastimes, adiganyatam, described most vividly. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda. Your goodness has the perfect vision, and you yourself know the supersoul personality of Godhead, because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, still you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please therefore describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead more vividly. Purport by His Divine Grace, Śrīla Prabhupāda. And remember, these are the 62 versions before the edited versions that came out that were authorized by Śrīla Prabhupāda. Śrīla Vyāsadeva is the empowered plenary portion incarnation of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. He descended by his causeless mercy to deliver the fallen soul in the material world. The fallen and forgotten souls are detached from the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The living entities are part and parcels of the Lord, and they are eternally servitors of the Lord. All the Vedic literatures are therefore put into systematic order for the benefit of the fallen souls to take advantage of such literatures and be freed from the bondage of material existence. Although formally Srila Nārada Rishi is his spiritual master, Srila Vyāsadeva is not at all dependent on such spiritual master, because in essence, he is the spiritual master of everyone else. But because he's doing the work of an Acharya, he has taught us by his own conduct that one must have a spiritual master, even he may be God himself. Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Rama, and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, every one of these incarnations of God accepted a formal spiritual master, although by their transcendental nature, they were all cognizant of all knowledge. In order to initiate people in general for the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, he himself, in the incarnation of Śrīla Vyāsadeva, putting forward the transcendental, he himself in the incarnation of Vyāsadeva, putting forward the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivedanta. I was noticing here that we're reading all these beautiful verses, Shruta, succinct explanations of the truth given in the Shastra and Scripture. And this, of course, is a great opportunity for us to get insight into the mystery of spiritual life. Now, it is a fact that many people, especially in the Western world, have never heard of the term Veda or Vedic literature. They're very familiar with political causes. They're very familiar with sporting events. They're very familiar with mundane education, the internet, science, etc. But they have no knowledge of the Vedic truths, the Shrutas, the succinct explanations of the mysteries of human life. And there are millions of verses, actually, surprisingly, but these people have never heard of anything. Of course, they're very familiar with fast food industry. They're very familiar with alcohol. They're very familiar with all kinds of useless information, babble, just complete lost in this world of illusion. But the Shastra, the scriptures, are something that they should be aware of. And that is the business of the devotee of the Lord. And so Prabhupada exemplified that beyond anyone. He came when people had no knowledge, and we were just reading Bhakti-Jad. He had 5 cases of Bhagavatams in the luggage compartment back in his journey in 1965 as the seed, as the beginning of this revolution of thought, which is spreading all over the world. But it is important to know that Prabhupada is the bona fide Acharya, and everything that he speaks is truth. And it is vital for the disciples, like us, to carefully study his purports, because these purports give us insight into the verses. And we were reading all these verses that Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has compiled for us. I was astonished to see, having been put in the position today of giving the class, I wasn't really aware of how long these verses were on the list. But it's interesting to note that there's so much information, even in these verses, these shrutas, this insight, nasta prayeshu, abradeshu, nityam bhagavata sevaya, bhagavati uttama sloke, bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Just see, if you regularly attend these Bhagavatam classes, all that is inauspicious within the heart becomes destroyed almost to nil. Well, why? Because they're potent. These verses, these purports are potent. They purify the conditioned soul of his illusion that he is the body. Just like a doctor, he gives the medicine to purify the patient. The patient is sick. He doesn't know what to do. He goes to the hospital. The doctor tells him, you're going to have to do this and that, and then you'll become cured. If the patient ignores the instruction of the doctor, will he survive? No, he'll die. So like that, the spiritual master, he gives us the cure for the disease of material life. And it is through the Shastras and his purports and his explanations of these purports for our insight, because he was born as a pure devotee of Krishna. It's not that he is learning this, he is self-realized. And therefore, when he speaks, it's transcendental knowledge coming down from the spiritual world through his explanations of this philosophy. And this is why we're so insistent that we should not change, that others should not change his books. Not at all. Why? Because where is the authority if the books are changed? Prabhupada explains that in a purport. That the authority comes because it's being presented without adulteration, like the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Because there are so many different versions of the Bhagavad Gita, but the interpretation, the opinion has been changed. And this change is done for material reasons. And Prabhupada presented this with a pure heart for the deliverance of the conditioned souls from the repeated cycles of birth and death, which is the cure for human life, for self-realization. It is the message that is the most important thing, coming from the pure devotee, Śrīla Prabhupāda, to all of us. I still remember all these verses from the 70s that we were reading at the beginning. There was a lot more today, I must say. But it was so inspiring. We used to have a bus. We got a bus back in 1974. And I had come back from Montreal, and I was put in the role of the Sankirtan leader in Toronto. I was a vice president there. I became Sankirtan leader in Toronto again. And then Jagadish decided, we're going to get this bus from Balakrishna. By the way, Balakrishna Prabhu is a devotee that started Saranagati in BC. They moved out after, I don't know when, I think it was around the time Prabhupada left. And they started this farm community in BC. And we want to send our prayers to them because right now they're engulfed in a forest fire. And the community has been evacuated by the government to protect these people and their animals from dying. But this is very unfortunate for him and his group. He's been there for 35 years cultivating this project of Grihastha living in the country. So it's unfortunate that it's burning down right now, the blazing fire of material existence. So he had a bus. They had a big blue bus, which was called it was a blue bus, a Bluebird, I think. And we inherited the bus and went on traveling Sankirtan with it. And we were going through America with a group of devotees. And there was a fellow who's now a guru in the ISKCON movement. I know I was criticized by some people on Facebook because they saw a picture of him with me. We were best friends back then. He was a wonderful devotee, Bhaktivedanta Swami. And his name back then was a Yojapati. Wonderful kirtan participant with us. And along with the guy Shivaram, no, not Shivaram, that was in Montreal, Kashiram. Now, Kashiram is a sannyasi now with the Gaudiya Math in Vrindavan. One of my friends in Russia talks to him on a regular basis and sends messages to me, even though he's now a disciple, a sannyas disciple of Sridhar Swami. Very interesting history, huh? All these different people, there's different situations that come about in life. But nonetheless, getting back to the point is, we took this bus and we went on Sankirtan, and we used to stay in the bus. It was very, very poorly equipped, let me say. Like there was a shower there in the bus. There was a small kitchen at the back. Then there was a temple room at the front. Now the shower, Bhaktijad, was metal on the floor. And we were traveling in the winter in this bus. We would load the water tank for a shower from taps, from houses where the water was freezing. And then it would freeze in the tank. So when we get in to take a shower, you know how quick the showers were? 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Because as soon as the water came down, your feet would freeze, stick to the metal. That was the way it was because it was so cold. Of course, back then we were like soldiers. We were ready to accept any austerity for the mission of Lord Chaitanya, any difficulty. It was considered to be mercy. And so we traveled like that. But every morning we would have the Bhagavatam class. I still remember, and we would sit there, the 6 of us. There was 6 in the bus. And it sticks out in my mind, us reading through these original verses that Yaśodā had introduced here into our program, which is so wonderful, by the way, and so purifying. Someone would say, well, how come you do all these verses? These verses, these shrutas, these are the verses that give us real insight into the purpose of life. And if we just learn these verses, that's enough to help us go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime. Prabhupada said, you can become Krishna conscious in a moment, or it may take millions of lifetimes. It's just a matter of understanding and accepting the fact. That's all. Just one verse is enough to liberate you. What to speak of all these wonderful verses that are given to us in the Shastra, in these scriptures, to help us, convince us, due to false ego, how to overcome our attachments to material life, to women, to men, to society, to money, to position, all these illusions that continue to attack us. And Maya is relentless. She doesn't give up. She really tests the devotee. And in this way, we always have to remain fixed on the transcendental path of devotional service given by Śrīla Prabhupāda in his bona fide books, in his unedited books, in his letters, in his lectures. And in this way, like the doctor gives the cure to the patient for his disease condition, our disease condition will be cured through the transcendental process of devotional service exclusively from A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, the bona fide representative of Śrīla Vyāsadeva. All glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda. We're going to go to our panel of devotees here this morning, and we do miss our wonderful godbrother Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. We do miss him very much, and he'll be back in action on the Vyāsasan, in a sense, of teaching this Wednesday. But for now, we'll move ahead with our panel. We'll ask Dharma Bhavana Prabhu to please share some insights today at the program.
Oh, Hare Krishna, thank you. I was reading Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu's Vyas Puja offering.
Yes.
It's very long, but it has so many different wonderful parts to it. And about the class today, we were talking about how extremely important it is to have absolute faith in the scriptures and absolute trust and faith in a bona fide spiritual master to help us really understand how to see, because some of the scriptures go back a long, long time ago. And we practice saying sometimes in Kali Yuga, because everybody is a Shudra, we're supposed to just chant the holy names. We need some kind of explanation like Śrīla Prabhupāda's purports. And just to give an example how important our reading and discussion is, back in 1980, as was mentioned in the Vyas Puja offering, there was a paper written called "The Mahajans Make Mistakes," something like that. And the examples were given that Arjuna fell into illusion on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Maybe it's similar to an illusion that some devotee may fall into. Or Dhruva Maharaj became angry And it's a kind of a similar to the material anger we may feel sometimes.
Yes.
Or Lord Brahma, he also was problem with sex desire. It's similar to our kind of problems we may have. But if you look exactly in the explanations of the scriptures, Arjuna fell into illusion, not because he was an illusion, but because the Bhagavad Gita had to be spoken. It was a kind of a spiritual illusion. And Dhruva Maharaj, he didn't actually become angry, but he had to become angry because it was required for him to take part in his activities and pastimes. So these Mahajans, they're not imperfect personalities subject to illusion. But if we read a paper that devotees wrote way back in 1980 to explain some other devotees' misbehavior, we will get very misled. And also they explained Lord Brahma. There were some other examples also, that all these are written in the scriptures, these stories to help us avoid these problems ourselves, or to know that we shouldn't allow ourselves to fall into illusion. So, and also, just kind of separate from that, all right, thank you. Some of the devotees were asking me how they are supposed to give their address, or there's no one, they haven't given their address yet for the books to be mailed. Could you kind of explain how, I know it'll be like you said until September, but could you explain a little bit about that, Vishwakarma Prabhu?
What we'll do is Bhaktivedanta Singh will send out a message to all the donators to provide the necessary information for us to be able to send the books out. So it's as simple as that. We'll try to reach everyone and, put that in place for the distribution. Of course, we want to distribute many more. I mean, 2,000 sets is a lot of sets. And we only had 90 people donate Dharma Bhavana. It was 90 people. A small number, better than nothing. And we did achieve the amount necessary. But the real goal is to keep this distribution program going through our branch offices throughout the world. We have listed 18 branch offices, and you're one of them, by the way. So we're going to look for your assistance. We have this lady in Kansas City, Radharani, and she is also offered to help us in the distribution of this small task of distribution to a few branch offices and to the few people that donated that we're committed to giving the books to. But the bigger job is the distribution, is making devotees Dharma Bhavana. It's making new devotees and getting them to get the books and inspiring them to study them and become Prabhupada's bona fide disciples. This work with the ISKCON people, this is a waste of time for most of us because they don't listen. It's hard to change people's attitude once they're ingrained in it. It's like spots on a leopard. Don't change overnight. People become, institutionalized. They don't think for themselves. They're not sure what to do. They just follow like stupid, super stupid. And this is a problem. You can't fix stupid Dharma Bhavana. Remember that. It's very, very difficult. I've seen it myself practically with hundreds of people. You talk to them, you try to be kind, you try to express everything in a positive way. They can't listen, Prabhu. They don't listen. And eventually they hang up on you. Then they start to character assassinate you. And they use all different types of techniques to nullify what you're saying, even though we're just saying Prabhupada is living in his Vani incarnation. Prabhupada is the supreme guru, Jagat Guru for all of us. Oh, you can't say that. This is blasphemous. Okay, you're entitled to your opinion, like we talked about earlier. But the fact of the matter, opinion and fact are two different things. And some people just don't have the capacity, brother. They don't have the capacity. For whatever reason, They see things in a particular way and you're not going to change them. And if you try, go ahead. If you succeed, show me. Show me how many people that you've tried to convince have become convinced and have changed. I'll show you there's hardly anybody. I know it. So making devotees, new devotees, is very difficult, especially in the West here. Very difficult because the conditioning is extremely ingrained in them. This conditioning, and you could say this like brainwashed. Like they used to accuse us. I was accused of being a brainwasher when I was in Toronto. We had a group of people that were against us. They were called Coma Bhaktijad. Coma. Council on Mind Abuse. It's Coma. And then we had to go on TV when the Jonestown episode took place, when all these people were claiming we were also like a Jim Jones cult and accused us, oh, you're brainwashing people. When the Attorney General came to my office in Toronto, he started to question me. He actually came because we had at the time, we still do, we had a prominent building up from the Parliament building. So he came to my office and said, are you brainwashing people? I said, no. And Prabhupada had told us in a court case of a similar nature in New York, to Adi Keshava, just read the Bhagavad Gita into the court documents. So I said to the fellow, the actual Attorney General at the time, here, I gave him a Gita. I said, read this. And after you finish reading it, come back and tell me that what we're teaching people is brainwashing. We're cleaning the person's brain, but we're not manipulating them. That's the difference. Manipulation, mind control, this is all bogus, mundane material philosophy coming from the lips of people that are completely insane. We live in an insane asylum. This is not a world of real understanding. This is a world of total mass confusion that is on the verge, everyone, of nuclear war. On the verge. Due to sinful activity, this whole thing, this whole charade of so-called material prosperity, goodbye, finished in a second. And all of us will be in a different circumstance. Much different. So, like that, brainwashing is going on, but not amongst us. It is going on in the human society, in mass, in media, and all the other things that carry with it. I wanted to ask Bhakti Rupesh and Bhakti Jad, maybe they could share their insights today for us on this reading and discussion. First, we'll go, before Bhakti Rupesh, we'll go to Bhakti Jad in France. And we really, I'm so inspired to see your face again. I was missing you the last few weeks. I was worried. I thought, what has happened to one of our favorite devotees? And let me say to everyone in this group, a senior devotee of Śrīla Prabhupada by action, not necessarily by formal initiation yet. Bhakti Jad.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Wonderful program, Prabhu's. I was doing Sankirtan the last days, that's why I didn't come. Many things came in my mind about opinion. And I wanted to share something. In the beginning, Vishwakarma Prabhu, you said that, oh, you can go to doctor and he tells you, you have cancer now. We can have bad news very quickly. And how many people we will convert to Krishna consciousness? And I did convert one person. It was my mother. She left her body 1 year ago of cancer. And she was just speaking of Prabhupada, thinking of Prabhupada, reading Prabhupada. She was very Prabhupada conscious, we can say. And one thing she told me, which really struck my mind, is when you hear a lecture, a tape from Prabhupada, it is as if he was speaking yesterday, not 50 years ago. And whatever he says, it applies today. So Prabhupada speaks for every one of us in 2024. And the thing I wanted to come to the conclusion is that when we are in the program and association of like-minded devotees, we feel very nice. Because when we hear too many sources of so-called knowledge, like you said that there is one disciple of Prabhupada, he went to Gaudiya Math and disciple of this Swami and that. You feel when you hear them, there is something not good because it comes from another source. But when we stay focused on Prabhupada, like how we can go out elsewhere? He wrote more than 80 books, more than 2,000 lectures, all letters. We have time to go elsewhere. So this is nonsense. That's why when we are in this association, bona fide association, we feel refreshed because there is no speculation, you know. So that's the thing I wanted to say about it. That's all. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Very insightful. And God bless your mother and her journey back to Godhead by your mercy, because the mercy of the devotee, it is also for the benefit of family members, all your family members like that. So keep preaching. I wanted to read a short note from Kanta Das. I believe he's in Trinidad. He's a very sincere person, devotee of Śrīla Prabhupāda, who's understanding the difference between what is real and what is fake. What is the difference between a real guru and these fake ISKCON gurus? Bogus. You cannot develop a spiritual organization by brainwashing, he says, manipulation, reverse psychology, and motivational preaching. However, it is better to learn to detect those strategies than practicing them. I just wanted to make a quick comment and we'll move forward with Bhakti Rupesh. I had the experience, Kanta Prabhu, with Kirtanananda Swami, Keith Ham, in New Vrindavan years ago. And he used these exact techniques in dealing with all of us. Manipulation, reverse psychology, and motivational preaching. Now, we went along with it because Prabhupada had told us we should give respect to others. And it was somewhat confusing in a sense because Keith Ham was one of Prabhupada's first disciples. Did that make him senior? Actually, it revealed that he was junior, worse than junior, by his behavior. You have to judge a person not by their position, but by their behavior. That's how you understand them. And when you see someone practicing this process, by studying Prabhupada's books, by chanting their rounds, by following the regulated principles, etc., there's a difference between those that are practicing and those who are pretending and hiding in the closet as some kind of so-called big devotee. And that's what he was doing. He was hiding, pretending, and it was blatantly aware. There's one devotee that I know who's a friend of mine. His name was Rishikesh, and he was a disciple of this Keith Ham. And he was very sincere for 11 years. Now he has written 9 books on the New Vrindavan fiasco. His name is, I might not pronounce his name correctly, Henry Dortowski. And these books, he got the information from records that were stored in New Vrindavan, and they were given to him, and he was able to disclose through these actual records and files what was really going on there in the name of the Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya. There was fraud. There was so many illicit activities. There was even murders. There was gay sex. There was all pedophilia. All that stuff is recorded and reported back then by him. So this fellow was the perpetrator, this Keith Ham. And I personally had many, many experiences with this fraud artist. And back then we couldn't really see it because we couldn't imagine it, that these people would use reverse psychology and motivational preaching, etc., that Kanta Prabhu pointed out. I still remember, Bhaktajad, that he was sitting on the Vyāsasan in the Toronto temple, and I was forced to go and pay his dandabat obeisances in front of him, which was totally, absolutely horrific. And it's still in my mind how I was manipulated, how I was enforced to commit these atrocities of devotional activity under the influence of a so-called organization that had also been corrupted, the GBC. It was complete madness under Gopal Krishna, a farce, the whole thing. And it gives me a bad experience. Of course, we're away from that, and I don't want to remember it too much because it becomes vivid in my mind. I saw my picture, Bhaktajad. Someone took a picture of me prostrated in front of Keith Ham. How disgusting the whole thing was. So this is unfortunate. We're moving to the end of the program. Oh, Bhakti Rupesh, hear too much sound. I cannot speak. Sorry. Okay, so anyone else with a comment? Or in terms of today's Rochisha Devi Dasi, any comments you'd like to share with us here this morning? Okay, so we'll move forward. Radharani Dasi in Kansas City. Anything you'd like to share with us? All right. So what we'll do is I just want to remind everyone your Vyas Puja homage, your offering to Śrīla Prabhupada is a really important thing for you to write. And it's a valuable asset for us at the Prabhupada Disciples Association, Hare Krishna Society, in our efforts to continue to establish Prabhupada's mission the way he wanted it done by all his bona fide disciples, which is all of you. And thank you for coming to the program today. We'll move forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna, Prabhupada playing the bongo drums back in 1966 in New York City. Hare Krishna, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupada.
Which is all of you, and thank you for coming to the program today. We'll move forward with the chanting of Hare Krishna. Prabhupada playing the bongo drums back in 1966 in New York City. Hare Krishna, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Which is all of you, and thank you for coming to the program today. We'll move forward.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Microphone.
Rochisha Devi Dasi has raised her hand just before we move to the end of the program. Mataji, maybe you could speak out for now. I guess your mic's working. Rochisha Devi Dasi has raised her hand. Oh, she has some difficulty. She wants to say, I would like to share with you my appreciation, but it will come technically difficult for me now. So thank you very much, Mataji. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. We're doing a new closing segment for our program, and Rupesh and I will work on it. I've written a script for it. But for now, we'll put up the closing section of the class for all of us. Hare Krishna, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupāda.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tang Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya